We are live.
Hey, good evening and welcome to the uh, June 16th, 2021 meeting of the East Hampton Town Planning Board. We have items on for site plan and sub-waiver review tonight. But before we get started, it is appropriate uh, and actually a heavy burden to say that this is our planning director's, Joanne Powell's final meeting as planning director. Joanne served, I don't know how many years in the East Hampton Town Planning Department, but
I think 33 or
30,
something close to it.
you know, if East Hampton has a reputation as an iconic area iconic in the area of planning, it is no small measure due to Joanne. Joanne is when I first started doing this kind of work 12 years or more ago when I was on the planning board, and I didn't understand something, I didn't know something, and this continues right up to today. Then I needed to have some clarification about, why do we do a thing the way we do it? Why does why are we operating in a particular application in a certain way? It was always the easiest thing to do was to ask Joanne, because Joanne knows everything about planning, is at her fingertips, and her judgments are just spot on. If you weren't sure about the way an issue should be addressed, she always provided great counsel to me, and I'm not speaking just for myself, and I'm speaking for everybody on the board, and I am sure the folks who work in the planning department and have worked with her for these 33 years, we're going to miss her tremendously, but she if anyone deserves a break from this and a rest from this, it's her. And so we take this moment and congratulate her on a lifetime of great work for the town of East Hampton. This town, I've said it more than once, it is the beneficiary of this planning department, and that is due in no small measure to Joanne. So Joanne,
Here. I wish we were in the boardroom. We could give you a standing ovation.
yeah, it's a shame.
Thank you very much, and it's been a passion of mine.
Hello.
It's been a passion of mine to try to keep this town as special as it is, and I will miss you all, and I'm sure you'll continue on doing the good work you're doing.
Well, thank you, Joanne, all of us, and the community as well.
And I don't want to monopolize the mandatory statements. If there's anybody else on the board who wants to say something in particular to Joanne, please go right ahead. I know I'm the chairman, so I get to go first, but there are those of you who longer. Go ahead.
First of all, thank you. I don't know if I'm on the right.
Excuse me,
can
sir.
I be heard?
I'm sorry. You're interrupting the chair about something else. Could you identify yourself, please, sir?
David Heller. I may have pressed the wrong button.
All right. You're not up yet, sir. If you could kindly mute yourself until called upon, that would be great.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heller. Is anybody else on the board? Like I said, I don't want to monopolize the opportunity to talk about.
Well, I'll just echo everything you said, Sam. And I know in my tenure on the board, I've had exactly the same experiences that you described. And Joanne's motives have always been of the highest integrity in my mind. And she's always depended on the code and, the town's commitment to being a beautiful, environmentally sensitive place. And I've always been grateful for her guidance when I've needed it. And I'm going to miss her terribly. I don't know the planning board without her there. So I also had occasion to work with her in an avocation of mine, which was transportation. And I got to know her really in that way before I came to the planning board. So I know that area of our community, and that is for the whole East End, will miss her wise counsel and experience. But I understand there's to everything, there's a season. It's time to move on. And I just wish you the best. You deserve a wonderful rest. And we're grateful for everything you've done to help set us in the right direction.
Thank you, Kathy.
I'd like to chime in too to say, echo what Sam and Kathy said. And I've found Joanne to really be a steady hand, knowledgeable, lot of integrity, really the best of the best. You get some really good people, and she's one of them. I didn't know she was going to leave us this soon, but I'm glad she got some time as director, because she really deserves it. And I'll miss her. I'm look forward to, I guess the town will do a search, and but as far as like institutional memory of all the applications and studies and what's gone on, I would say she's irreplaceable in that sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Thank you, Randy.
Well,
Thanks, Joanne, for everything. I want to just jump into it's really been great, and I wish there was a technology to just do a mind meld, and download everything that I'm feeling a little abandoned. But all the best, Joanne, all the best.
Thank you very much.
You deserve it.
You've
Thank
got
you.
3 very, very smart, talented planners behind me, so I think they'll do well by you.
And thank you, Joanne. I just also want to add my congratulations and gratitude for everything that you've done. I'm the member who's had the least amount of time and exposure and experience working with you, but the 3 years or so that I've been on the board, I've just as everyone else has said, I've counted you tremendously, and you've always come through, and I appreciated you always taking the time whenever I've had a question, and you didn't just answer it for just quickly. You gave it your effort and concentration, and made sure that I walked away knowing what I was talking about on that topic that I was asking you about. So thank you very much, and good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you, Joanne. It's unanimous. All you do, and I wish you, the best of luck and happiness in your next stage.
All right, thank you all very much.
we could call Sharon, but I think she's she's preoccupied. But on Sharon's behalf, I'll also add that
Okay.
all our best wishes.
Yeah, I'll miss you all.
All right, well, now to the prosaic. Our first sub-waiver review is Hand Lane South. And Will Highland is going to work on going to present on behalf of the planning department. Kathy is on behalf of the board, and is the applicant on the line with respect to Hand Lane South?
I am Chairman Kramer, Britton Bistrian, representing Hand Lane South.
Very well. Okay. All right. So, Will, take it away.
Right. Thanks. Good evening, everyone. This is a application that was last reviewed in April by me. It is a revised survey was submitted in May 2021. It is an application to divide. Hang on, actually, I'll share the screen so you can see it too. And it's an application to divide the original parcel into 2 individual lots. Both lots the property is Zone B residence, which must contain a minimum of 20,000 square feet, and both individual lots do meet that requirement. As was on the previous survey, the existing driveway of the site will be relocated, but now instead of constructing a second driveway, which you can kind of see the remnant in the final design of that, the applicant has decided to follow the planning board's encouragement of a common driveway, as you can see here. to reduce curb cuts and entranceways. Additionally, the new orientation of the common driveway access should allow for an existing significant tree that was found on adjacent to the site to be preserved, as the tree is no longer in the area where the common driveway will be paved. Additionally, a driveway profile, as you can see here, was added to the map. And the flag width of 20 feet of the common driveway meets the minimum requirement of 14 feet width, with additional 2 feet minimum cleared on each side for the shoulder area as required for a common driveway easement for 2 lots as depicted in Chapter 220 of the Town Code. So in conclusion, the prior concerns of the planning board regarding the preservation of the existing significant tree and the notion of constructing a common driveway in order to reduce curb cuts have been addressed, and the proposal should now be ready for a public hearing.
Very good. All right, Ms. Bistrian, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I don't. I think Will made a great presentation. It's a pretty straightforward application to divide a 1 acre parcel into 2 conforming B residence lots. And we listened to the 2 comments that we got from the planning board on May 5th and integrated them into the redesign. And I hope that the board finds the application complete and ready to schedule for public hearing.
Terrific. Okay, so Kathy, do you have?
Right. Yeah, I want to thank the applicant for, I'm going to thank the applicant for taking our suggestions. I'm delighted we can save that street tree. It's a big old thing, and that'll be a nice addition, or it won't be an absence from the neighborhood. And I think it's ready to go and ready to be scheduled for public hearing.
Very well. Do any of the other members have anything they want to add on this application? Hearing none. Quick question. Are we satisfied with the changes to the prior survey and the modifications to have 1 driveway, 1 common driveway?
Yes.
Yes.
Nobody objects then. Right, we did. And is the application ready to be scheduled for a public hearing?
Yes.
Anybody object? Okay, then I guess the next time we're here, we'll have a resolution on the public hearing. Okay?
Thanks, Brenton.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Okay, very good. All right, the next item is Ed's Landscapes and Services Corp. Again, Kathy, you're going to be for the board, and Marco, you'll be for the planning department. And they asked, is the applicant on board with this one?
Sam,
Yes, Randy.
can I just quickly say something about, I've heard a lot of comment in that the area of Amagansett we were just looking at about whether or not the house size
is this specific to the last application? Because the applicant's no longer here.
No, it's not. So I'm talking about us, as a planning board. I'd like to have us take a look at whether or not we think the house size is appropriate, especially in the half-acre zone. That's it.
I mean, going forward with respect to other subdivision applications in Amagansett?
Well, probably townwide, but especially in that area they call the lanes in Amagansett, there's a lot of people who feel the house size and height is too much.
You're just so that we're very clear, you're talking generally, right?
Generally and going forward, not about the previous application.
Okay. Well, I think there's some validity to that. But we'll have to wait for another opportunity for ourselves to, for the board, I should say, to discuss this. So,
good.
Okay, thank you, though. All right, and I think I was about to ask, is the applicant online on the line for 115 Hand Lane? Is that Mr. Heller?
No.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
David Heller.
115 Hand Lane. My error. I apologize. I meant to say Ed's Landscape and Services. My mistake.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Hellman is here.
I'm sorry, Joanne?
Mr. Hellman is representing Ed's Landscaping.
Hellman?
Mr. Heller, Heller.
Yes, Mr. Heller.
Heller, yeah.
Right, and hopefully I have a representative of the applicant on the phone joining in by video or perhaps in person. I don't know.
No, on the phone, Trish.
Trish. Good. She is there.
Yeah.
Trish, okay.
Do we have her on the screen here?
Yes.
Let me just get a look.
Trish, who? Could we get the first and last name of the caller?
Thank you.
Trish. Last name's Merwin, Merwin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so first we'll have, we'll hear from the planning department. We'll hear from Will, and then we'll hear from the applicant.
And excuse me, Chairman, if I could just...
I keep dropping my eye on the wrong one. Marco, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, everybody. This is Mike at LTV. I just want to make something clear, just so the chair knows. Both of those individuals are in the Zoom call through a phone line, so when they're speaking, you'll just see a symbol of a phone and a phone number.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Very well. One ends in 1058. The other ends in 1575. Correct.
Correct.
Very good.
Continue.
Okay. Very good. Very good. All right, Marco.
Okay, I'm going to share a screen. This should be an aerial of just the general area. Should be on your screen in a second. So this is a 19,107 square foot parcel. It's a triangular shaped lot with two sides fronting on streets Queens Lane to the west and Cheryl Foster's Path on the east. On the northerly side, it's not really seen here, but on a survey you can see it. But that is half of Baker Street, which is an unopened urban renewal road that has been abandoned into the lot. The lot was initially residentially zoned, and in 2003, the lot was rezoned to commercial service. The applicant was granted an approval to develop the site for a service commercial use and to construct a 3,840 square foot building, which includes a 900 square foot office, 2,940 square feet of workshop space with 9 parking spaces. The applicant has submitted a site plan modification to the landscaping plan and lighting plan. I'm going to go to the plans that were approved back in late 2018. This was a site plan that was stamped. I'm just going to zoom in on the site. Okay. So upon a CO inspection, it appears that the light fixtures that were installed differed from those on the approved lighting plan. In addition, at some point during the construction, the lot had been fully cleared, including the areas which were to remain as natural vegetation. Those areas of natural vegetation are on the survey here that was approved, on the site plan. And the 5-foot buffer is red, is over here on the north side, where it says 5 foot wide non-disturbance buffer, natural vegetation to remain. And on the east, along Cheryl Foster's Path, 10-foot wide non-disturbance buffer, natural vegetation also to remain. So in order to be in compliance with the approved landscaping plan, the applicant has submitted a revegetation plan to revegetate the cleared buffer areas. I'm just going to move over to what is the revegetation plan. So it's in roughly the same location. So the 5-foot buffer here, the 10-foot buffer here. The applicant's narrative and revegetation plan appeared to be inconsistent regarding the types of plantings and number of plantings. Actually, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I'm going to actually just show the photos first that were taken recently to kind of actually really demonstrate what was there. But this is Queens Lane. This is the front of the property. This is where plantings are supposed to be, and there's some of the parking spaces. This is facing to the south now. Upon this inspection, it appears that the actual landscaping plan was some of the plantings from the landscaping plan were planted. And then this is along Cheryl Foster's Path. So there is a line of trees here. If we go to the survey just really quickly, it appears that those trees are these circular ones here, 36 arborvitaes. But in front of them are supposed to be the natural vegetation, which in the photo you can see, of course, was cleared and was replaced with perennial flowers. Just gonna a few more pictures. This is the back now. So this is This is what the that Baker's, I think Baker's Baker Street. But this is where the 5-foot buffer was supposed to be. That's not there. Still cleared at this moment, or last I checked. It's the back. This is where the dumpster is supposed to be installed. That's on the site plan. You will see it in a second, but just for visual purposes, this is just to show you what's there at the moment. And this is just the last corner on the other side. Some of the drainage, and the other corner. These photos are here, and I can go through them when the board's having the discussion. But to continue on, the narrative states that 24 trees will be planted on the eastern side, Cheryl Foster's path. That's what the narrative has stated. Well, it's not really a narrative, unfortunately. That's a poor word. I should replace that. It's a list of trees. My apologies for that. But it was listed as 24 trees to be planted along the eastern side, along Cheryl Foster's path in the revegetated area. 12 on the northern side. Baker's path consisting of pin oaks, willow oaks, and northern red oaks. However, the proposed revegetation plan only indicates a total of 12 white oaks, which is stated here, only 12. A little small. Which will be planted, which is including 8 along the path, Cheryl Foster's path, and 4 along Baker's path. So the applicant should clarify the number of plantings, specifically specify the caliper measurement if taken from diameter at breast height and height at planting on the revegetation plan. That should be additional detailings there. The following are plantings and screenings that were part of the approved landscape plan. So that was kind of what I mentioned before. So there was 39 arborvitae trees along Cheryl Foster's path, the 5-foot and 10-foot buffer, the screening around the dumpster, landscaping for that, and silt fencing around the property. Okay. So the applicant has submitted an electrical plan. However, the proposed fixtures are not specified on the legend or plan. So bring that here. It appears the proposed light fixture is fully shielded. However, the applicant should submit additional detailings regarding the specific quantity, lumen level, and Kelvin level of the fixtures. I think I do have a picture of that somewhere as well. These are some of the fixtures here that were installed, that weren't specified previously. So in conclusion, the modification is incomplete due to the additional details that should be submitted. The planning board should review the applicant's revegetation plan and provide comments or recommendations to the applicant.
Marco, thank you for that very thorough report. This matter hasn't been on the agenda for quite a while, so it's appreciated that you're bringing us up to date so thoroughly. The applicant is on the line. Mr. Heller?
Marco, hi. My name is David Heller. Yes, I'm online, hopefully.
Yes, we hear you.
I do appreciate that walkthrough of exactly what happened here. Unfortunately, I represent Ed's Landscape. I represent the applicant for years and years, but I represent them on a business representation, transactional representation basis. This was essentially done by, I believe it was Morton Builders, and the application was originally made on behalf of the applicant by Morton Builders. And then, as I understand it, Bill Fleming rest his soul, he was working on this matter too. In any event, it's come to me at this point, and I'm really, I've kind of boiled down what I understand the nub of it to be. One, that there was some question as to what was to be around or shielding or protecting the dumpster. There was wood that was put there improperly, and that's going to change if it hasn't been already. I believe it has. Trish, you're available, right?
Yes, it has been changed. The pad has been set. We're just waiting on the chain link fencing, and it'll be installed probably within the week.
All right, that's good. And then another thing boils down to the fact that whereas I'm not a builder, soffits or facets don't necessarily, they're not there on this particular building to allow the lighting that the town wanted, but we've substantially complied with another as well-performing arrangement as we can. So I'd like to suggest that that matter has been taken care of as well. Grace, am I correct there?
As long as it's approved. I mean, it is dark sky lighting. If you need more information on lighting, I'm happy to get it for you.
Good, good. And then third of all, I sat with a pair of, with a little eyeglass today to watch and look at this survey. And yes, it sounds as though you folks were specific on stuff that wasn't to be touched. I'm not entirely sure it runs all the way up Barker Avenue. It only appears to run to a certain extent. But to the extent that you've articulated there's a shortage or the lack of performance on the part of the applicant in complying with the allowance, will comply. Essentially, that's it. My questions from there would be, when can we confirm that we're there and we're the way we're supposed to be? And number two, hopefully, when can we get our CFO?
Okay, well, I will, we have a few things that we have to go through, and then we'll figure out where in the process you'll land. So, Kathy, this is yours.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome,
Welcome,
thank you.
welcome to the world of planning. Welcome to the world of planning. It's very different.
I'm in my backyard and I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt. So
hey man, I envy you. I'm not doing that. I've got 2 computer screens here. I'm reading a single space document. So here's the thing. We worked up, Bill Kelly of Morton Builders is the man that shepherded this application. And he was very cooperative. I don't know who, the owner was obviously on the application, but we never dealt with the owner. And our dear Bill Fleming never really came before the board. It was really Bill Kelly that shepherded this to and from. So it got its approval with the conditions that were listed. One thing that I think part of the reason we were as specific as we were about what should not be, that native planting should be left, a native buffer and so on, is because this area is in a special groundwater protection zone, which is regulated by Suffolk County. And we need to do everything we can, especially with commercial applications, where a great deal of clearing is permitted by the code to mitigate the kinds of plantings that go in there, and also to make sure they're in service of the water recharge function that that plants do for our community. And so toward that end, there are many types of vegetation that we recommend and that are approved by the planning board, but the ones that were submitted by the applicant are not among them. So that's, areas were clear cut that were not supposed to be clear cut, which I must say was disturbing to me, because we had worked so successfully with Mr. Kelly to establish why they were meant to be left untouched. So that was upsetting, because you can't create native vegetation. That's a whole root system that once it's out, it's out.
of him, I'll try and apologize. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
no,
he'd
that's
want
all
me
right.
to.
You don't have to apologize. I just, it's not, you didn't know anything about it, but it's a little frustrating, when it goes like this. So that's part of the reason you're not getting your CO is because it hasn't met the criteria of site plan. I went there today. I see that the cement pad for the generator has just been poured. It looked, I had to repress the 5-year-old in me to go over and put my hand in it, but it looked like it had just been done. So we'll look forward to seeing what goes around that. But the approved landscaping is dumpster enclosure with 6 high dark American arborvitae, 5 to 6 foot spacing. So we've got, there is a list of what's meant to be put in there. And I think there was just some kind of miscommunication between the owner's rep and the people who are there now to understand what was required and why it was required. It wasn't just, we're not just being fussy about, colors and so on. It's serving an environmental purpose. It's serving an environmental purpose. So
it's been very clear. I thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. So then the vegetation buffer along Cheryl Foster's path, those annuals, that's a no-go. I suspect you'll have to put in something like a low bush blueberry, or I'm trying to find now your list of, I had the list of your plantings, your proposed plantings, but my advice to you would be to work with the planning department, talk to Marco, and he will help you to find the proper plantings to go in there, and he will tell you, what was approved on the site plan and where they're supposed to go. The northern boundary of this triangle is such an interesting piece because it's like an isosceles triangle, which abuts the below the bridge, parking area. I mean, I went there today, actually. Yeah, thank you, Marco. That's helpful. You can practically access this lot from that parcel behind. And there was supposed to be, I think, a fence along here. And certainly, now it's getting too dark for me to read this. I have to put a light on. But that whole area was meant to be vegetated and, a buffer in between there. One of the planning board's main obligations is to limit the impacts of commercial properties on residential neighborhoods and residences. And there's a residence right across the street from this. So, we really want to make sure that this is, this has been attended to in a way that makes the least impact, both for the water recharge and for the, impact on the residential, residences along there. So I think that's your biggest challenge is just, you've got to get those things planted with the right things. And the list that you submitted didn't contain the kinds of, vegetation we recommend. So we have a very, a planning department very willing to work with applicants and to help guide you with this. I think the lighting issue is easily resolved. I think you just need to submit the proper information to demonstrate that it meets the code. But beyond that, and all of this will need to happen before you can get your CO. That's why you keep failing the inspection. It's just not meeting the, requirements of the site plan.
Well, first off, I do know, to the extent that I can, I apologize for what breach or lack of communication there may have been. But basically, I am here to say that essentially we will comply with whatever it is the town says needs to be complied with. I have the survey. I was provided a copy of the survey. As I said, it was hard to read. But I'm consistent with you that I think the entire area, Cheryl Foster's path, is supposed to be left as is or vegetated or whatever, and there's a portion of Baker Avenue. However, it's depicted on that survey that was attached to and made a part of the approval plan. will comply with. And let's set up the mechanism. I have a representative of the applicant on the phone. Marco, you've been very helpful. Can I introduce you two and just say, get it done?
Sure.
Well,
Works for me. I mean,
Too.
yeah, well,
No,
that should suffice, I think,
yeah.
for these purposes, because that's really, that's the biggest stumbling block you have is, if too much was cleared and not the right stuff has been submitted to replant. So it's an easy thing to do.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up from here. You have my attention. You can reach me on my phone, 631-725-6340.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate your cooperation.
We're gratified. Does any other board member have anything they want to add to this particular application?
Thank you.
Oh, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Stay just for a moment more. Does any board member have anything they want to add on this? If not, then let's just run quickly. Should the applicant revise their revegetation plan to include the additional trees and details?
Sam,
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't get my mute off.
Oh, all right.
But just quickly, we had a discussion with Brian Frank recently about what revegetation means, and that it's something different than landscaping. It's basically returning those areas that were supposed to be left uncleared. It's beginning to return them to that native landscape of, as Kathy said, low bush blueberry or huckleberry and kind of pine barrens vegetation. But I just wanted to suggest if Marco hasn't had a chance, or that Brian seems to be the Natural Resource Department seems very well versed in what revegetation, how it's defined and what species and that sort of thing. That's all.
Well, I'm sure the applicant will work with the town, and we'll give them the resources that are available. So
I appreciate it. You folks know better than we do.
All right, let me just run quickly if anyone objects. I'm sure well, let's just see. Should the applicant revise the revegetation plan to include additional trees and details?
Yes.
Anybody object to that? Okay. And should the applicant revise their lighting plan to include additional details such as quantity, lumen level, and Kelvin level?
Yes.
Okay. I figured we'd go right through that. All right, so the applicant understands. You'll get a letter from us just giving you some guidance as to what needs to be done. But really, for the next time, the planning department will work with you and get this project where you want it to be. I hope.
Appreciate it. And next time we have some sort of venture in East Hampton, I'll be involved from the get-go.
Very well. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Next, we have 44 3 Mile Harbor Road. Again, Marco, this will be yours. Sharon is not with us tonight, so Kathy will be pinch hitting. Thank you, Kathy, for the board. And I see, who am I? This is Ms. Glazer, Mr. Brown, Mr. Van Benchen. I apologize. I mispronounced the name again. I've done that. Sorry. Okay. So we have everybody we need. All right. In that case, Marco, go right ahead.
Okay. Just really quickly, just gonna screen share again. This is just last site plan there. But this was reviewed recently by last reviewed May 19th, 2021. So it was about a month ago. But this is the application which is changing the use of and expanding the non-conforming building by proposing a first floor retail space, a second floor office space, second floor affordable apartments, paving areas, and extensive landscaping. Actually, let me just put up the aerial instead. So this is just where the area is. It's just north of North Main Street. So the project consists of about 6,483 square feet, For the first floor retail space, which is for a wet retail market, 4,570 square feet. Second floor for office space and affordable apartments. So it's a total gross floor area of 12,421 square feet, not including 6,883 square foot basement. Upon further review, it was noted that a rear yard setback variance for the proposed second floor affordable apartments will be required from the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm just going to zoom in on that that portion that I'm referencing. The purple line here is denoting the setbacks, and this dashed thick black line is where the second story affordable apartments will be sticking out. And this line here to the south, this dashed line here, where the vegetation buffer is where the property line is. So the required setback is 50 feet, which is doubled from 25 feet due to the lot's adjacency to residential zoning. The setback is currently proposed at roughly 24 feet. It's not exactly depicted, but by just a ruler and scale, it's roughly 24 feet. This rear yard setback variance is in addition to the parking variance of 11 spaces that is also required. Just one thing that I forgot to add that I omitted, but previously the planning board had found that the parking layout was acceptable. The planning board had indicated that they were favorable to waiving the accessory structure setbacks. The setbacks are 50 feet corresponding to principal building structures. No minimum yards are required for walkways, driveways, and fences. So I just wanted to make mention of that because accessory structure setbacks discussion from where the planning board last left off was a little bit could be clarified a little bit. The applicant has made an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The planning board may wish to provide comments to the Zoning Board of Appeals regarding their opinion of the rear yard setback and the proposed number of spaces. So that's pretty much it. In conclusion, that's what they would require, which is the rear yard setback variance for the principal structure. Just to kind of reconfigure the questions to be a little bit more clear. So the three questions that I have written down here. So does the planning board agree to relaxing accessory structure setbacks for the parking lot? Should the planning board provide comments to the ZBA regarding the proposed rear yard setback variance? And should the planning board provide comments to the ZBA regarding a variance of 11 parking spaces?
Just real quick, thanks, Marco. The first question, that accessory structure setback question, the board had addressed that, had discussion about that in a previous meeting and was favorable to doing that. So I just wanted to make sure the board understood, and it's been a while, make sure everyone understood where the board had previously stood on that.
How does that impact our addressing the issue?
Just to be aware, if their board was going to change their mind or come to a different decision, then you need to explain why.
Okay. So it isn't a matter of agreeing to relax the accessory structure setbacks. It's a matter of continuing the prior determination. I don't know if determination is the right word yet, but is that what you're saying, Thomas?
Yeah, it's just to be aware of what has already been discussed, so that the board doesn't redecide things that have already been discussed.
Okay.
The main issue here is that we realized after the fact that the building itself, shown in yellow here, will also need a variance, and that hadn't been brought to your attention previously. Needs I believe, a rear yard setback variance. So that's the main thing that we wanted to bring back to you before it goes before the zoning board, and see whether you have comments on that. And also, I don't know that you spelled out if you support the variance for the 11 parking spaces, the reasoning for that.
So really the only questions that we need to address are the second and third, unless there's sentiment on the board to change the first determination. So, okay, Kathy, I'm sorry, the applicant, I apologize. Does the applicant wish to be heard on this?
Yes.
Please go right ahead.
The yellow building, the yellow that's being shown is the existing building. So yes, it does not comply with the setbacks, but it is in fact the building that as it exists. The pink area is the addition that we're adding on the first floor, and that does comply to the 50-foot setback at the residential side of the lot. We had been requested to add the apartments back. We were having obviously difficulty getting our square footage and the parking in check, and we reworked the parking lot quite a bit, and and had taken off the apartments at one point and was requested to put them back. This is really the place that 2 apartments fit correctly. That makes sense with the building. It's isolated from the offices that are on the second floor. It's divided by a common circulation space, and there's a hallway so one side can be completely locked from the other. So from a physical point of view, it makes the most sense, or from a design point of view. For me, where we mostly comply, we're at 24 feet. I suppose we could cut back 25 feet to comply exactly, facing the residential side. So we have residential facing residential. For me, it is, yes, we don't comply as in the building is mixed use, but from a use point of view, we do have residential facing residential. So I think that from a sensible point of view, it does make sense. It does work, and I think that's the point of view I'd like to have you look at it from, because we're giving these affordable apartments and they're facing toward the residential. In addition, we're doing quite a bit of screening on that side, so that it is very dense.
Marco, could you point out where the setback variance is needed?
The black line here is the second floor affordable apartment addition. The purple line is the 50-foot rear yard setback variance. 25 feet would be roughly around here. It's very close. It's not, I don't have it lined up specifically here, but it would be around here. So
We're about a foot off. I think you're right.
So it's around there. And this is the property line, of course. So.
Tim, can I ask a question?
Yeah, if it goes directly to what they're talking about. Otherwise, I'd like to get, the board going, through Kathy. But
okay.
Go ahead. Is it a specific question about something that was just stated?
Yeah, I'm just curious where the affordable apartments parking would be, where Pamela sees them parking.
I see that the spaces, some 23, 24, 25, and 26 would probably be designated. I mean, they're only required to have 2 parking spaces, but
it's a big parking lot. So
yeah, they could be, it would make sense for them to have that area that was, right adjacent to the apartments, I would think.
So it would be something like a no parking or parking only for, I don't know, some kind of no parking thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be easy to designate that location.
Okay, that's it, Sam.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate it. Okay, Kathy, please go right ahead.
Okay, well, this has been a long road, and I want to thank the applicant for their cooperation. I think there's been a lot of really good discussion and really good give and take here. We're grateful for the affordable apartments. I'm sorry we didn't see this, this need for this variance through the Zoning Board of Appeals, but I think, that's going to have to happen. But I would like, just for the benefit of the applicant, I'm glad that Marco, added these other questions, because I think we've had so many discussions over such a long period of time that I want to make sure we're all on the same page about this. And we did plan on submitting comments to the zoning board, but we haven't done that, and we will remedy that at this meeting and make sure that they're aware of what our recommendations would be. I think that the applicant makes a strong point that the variance that's required is for the residential part of this, and I think it's while the required setback is for 50 feet, I think that's it would be 25 feet and use to use, even though that's not exactly this because it's a commercial lot. I think that's an understandable position. So I would like to recommend to the board that we do submit comments to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I think we should detail that we have generally approved. I think Randy was the only one that didn't really approve of this parking layout. With our satisfaction with the need for 11 more spaces, a couple of which would be for the affordable apartments. And I think we should include in those comments that we'll specify waiving the setbacks for the parking on the eastern side of the lot, which I'm not sure that we actually have a record of, but I want to, we should do that. And
I thought we said we did.
I don't know. I don't think I don't know that we said that. I don't know that we memorialized that in a letter to the zoning board. I don't think we did. I think we discussed it and we agreed, but I don't know that it.
I think the closest you came to putting something in writing was in a post-meeting memo.
Okay.
You said that the planning board finds the general layout acceptable, which
right.
Of course the general layout includes parking spaces within, close
right.
proximity to the parking lot.
Right.
And that includes the setback. So
right, but as a practical matter, we are waiving the setbacks, because it's not within setbacks, those parking spaces. So I think we need to be more specific about that.
But there's no variance required if we waive it.
Not for the parking, no.
Right.
There's a variance required for the building.
And the number of spaces, that's all.
Correct, number of spaces and the building. 2 variances are for the number. They need 11 more spaces than the lot would, permit, and they need a variance for the second floor there of the apartments. And but I'm just trying to clean up our record a little bit just so it's clear. And I think that's it. I think there are other things, of course. This is just sort of an addendum to the other things that we last discussed, which included, permission from Suffolk County for the right of way for these proposed plantings and things like this. But I think this meeting and this particular item is more. We need to address this specifically so that the applicant can go to the Zoning Board of Appeals with the understanding that the planning board finds that an acceptable route to follow. So I think that I would retain any further comment on the rest of the site plan until these variances have either been granted or denied, and we'll go from there.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add?
Yeah, I just want to clear up some confusion that I have with regard to making recommendations to the zoning board. Every time this issue comes up, there are disparate opinions about whether or not we should or shouldn't make suggestions or recommendations to the zoning board. And Sam, you've been on the zoning board, so it would be nice to know what you think or how the zoning board feels. Now, I've heard in conversations that, the zoning board likes to be an independent body and make their decisions based solely on the evidence before them. And I don't know if I'm talking out of turn here, but I've also heard, and at our meetings, I'm not talking about things that I've talked to others about outside of the public meeting, but even during our public meetings, some of us have said that the zoning board doesn't like to get these kinds of recommendations that are being suggested for this particular property. So where do we stand on that? What is the procedure, the proper procedure to follow? Because I'm confused on this issue, to be honest with you.
Okay. I understand the confusion. I think the best way to do it is to say, if you would, it's up to you. The zoning board is, an independent body. They apply their own standards. They come to their own conclusions. But the question before you is, do you want to provide comments to the zoning board? I think if you want to provide comments, either favorable or unfavorable or none at all, that is completely up to you, because the planning board is also an independent board. I think that the zoning board, I think the main idea of even submitting comments from the planning board is so that the zoning board knows that if it were to grant the variances, that the project is not going to undergo substantial changes at the suggestion of the planning board, thereby negating the variances that they just granted. So that's really, I think, the heart of why comments to the zoning board make sense. But it's really up to you. I don't think we've had this discussion a number of times, getting bogged down in what the zoning board wants or doesn't want. I think you can give comments or not, but I think the best course is not to just try to get in the heads of the zoning board and try to figure out what they want. Do what you want, and let it go where it goes.
Thomas,
let me echo,
yeah,
because Lou asked about being on the zoning board. They, like us, treasure and, I presume, value their independence. But there are times when an application for a variance might come before them where it might help their decision making, and it's nothing more than that. When we provide a comment, it's not intended to say, "Hey, you this way." It's not. It's to give them a sense, and it really is only a sense, because when an application goes to the ZBA and comes back to us, we're still going to vote on it, and it might not be consistent with what was said previously. So the intention here is to give them a sense of where we are, or where a majority of the board appears to be, and not to point them in any particular direction. If they may hear our comments and say, well, that's very nice if the planning board thinks that, but we don't think this is a good idea. I'm not talking about this application, but just in general, we don't think this is a good idea for a variance, and we're not going to grant it. And and that's the end of the conversation as far as the zoning board is concerned. I think it's crucial in all things that each board maintain its independence. I can think of any number of applications where this board has come to a different opinion than other boards in the town. And, it's a matter of our integrity and their integrity. And we don't want to interfere with anyone else's integrity or step on anyone else's toes. But if we have a sense that maybe it would be helpful for them to know where we think we're going, then that's what we do. So when it's appropriate. So, and this may be one of those times. It may not be. If we get into these questions and most of the board says, "Listen, I don't want to tell the ZBA anything," then that's where we'll be.
I think also you've had the advantage of having some history in the process where the zoning board is only getting the final drawing that has been arrived at after many reviews by the planning department. So I think that's an advantage for you and not for them.
It's kind of funny. It's like, we're at the front of the process and they're at the, we ingest and they dispose of. And,
why don't we go around the table and talk about whether we want to recommend these variances or not?
Just that, Ian. I was going to suggest that. And last time I remember, I don't know how I do this, but I know I started with Ed last time. So Sharon's not here. So Randy, go ahead.
Okay, so a couple of thoughts. One, I think Ian has actually laid it out pretty well in the past that we want the zoning board to make their own independent determination. But Sam, I think you also spelled it out well that as far as an applicant goes, it doesn't really make sense for an applicant to go to the zoning board with a site plan that the planning board is opposed to. It's like you go to the zoning board, you get your variance, and the planning board denies the application. What's the point in that? So there is a sort of unstated nuance here that when site plans go from the planning board to the zoning board after a period of review, that they've gotten to a stage where the applicant feels that with the variances, they can probably get approval. So I just want to mention that. The other thing about Kathy was talking about the parking, the number of spaces, which we've talked about before. And I just wanted to mention again that the reason that there's a variance request for 11 shortage of 11 spaces is that the applicant is proposing an addition to this building, an enlargement of the structure, which requires 11 more spaces than they're providing. So one solution to the shortage of 11 spaces is to reduce the size of the retail. I just wanted to put that in the record that that is another way. I think it's I don't remember what the parking is that 180 square feet of retail per space? Maybe the board knows, but even if you wanted to reduce the number of the variance from say 11 to 5 to 6, the board could say, we want you to reduce the size of the retail to get you down closer to the requirement. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thanks very much. Kathy, you've already presented. So Ian, go right ahead.
Yeah, I think we should send comments to the zoning board always. And I think in this case, I'm in favor of both of them. I think the affordable apartment, we've pushed them towards, and honestly, it's one of the most appealing aspects of the application. I also think we should send comments in favor of the parking variance. And I know that I'm probably one of the people being referred to and that we shouldn't always send comments. To be clear, I think we should. It's just sometimes there's not a planning issue that determines whether a variance, I think, is important or not. We could make a site plan one way or the other. In this case, I think this property benefits from redevelopment from a pre-existing non-conforming nightclub into retail and affordable apartments. And I think they've come up with a good site plan. There are other issues in the front in particular, in the county right away that we've already talked about. But I think the two aspects before us tonight that are coming before the zoning board are beneficial to the application and the town, frankly. So I would support positive comments to the zoning board in both cases. I never think we shouldn't send them. I think that sometimes we just say, it's up to you guys. Sometimes we say we're against them, and sometimes we say we're in favor of them when the planning issues are involved. But that's probably a longer conversation.
For another day without anything on the agenda when we have that conversation. So, okay, Lou, please go ahead.
Yeah, so, okay, my question, I think, has been answered. And the way I take it now is that we can send comments, and I'm glad for that, because I was always for chiming in and giving our opinion about it. But I also understand that the zoning board is an independent body, and they can take our comments and throw them in the waste paper basket or consider them with a lot of weight. So I think that's a good process. The other thing I wanted to say is that I think the applicant said it, that, you know, the planning board, especially with this application, has spent a lot of time working it. And we've gotten to a final site plan that we're happy with. And I think one of the reasons that we took the time to continue to hammer it out is because, like Ian said, this is a much better, from a planning standpoint, it's a much better use of this space than the current use. So I think, you know, things like that are important. And so in the end, I recommend that that the zoning board grant the variances.
And Ed.
We've come a long way on this project over time. You know, I think we all remember the very first proposal that was made, which for a much larger building and underground parking. It was a whole different kind of thing. So we have really come a very, very long way here. And the applicant has really worked with us to scale this down. You know, my own personal feeling, I do sympathize to a large degree with what Randy just said. I would, you know, I think removing some retail space would obviate the need for the parking variance, but we're beyond that point now. We are beyond that point now. And I think the compromise that we've reached here is a workable one. I think it's a better use of the site, as other people have pointed out, than the current one. And yeah, I think that it's useful to comment to the ZBA on this, you know, particularly since they may not be fully aware of this long evolution from a very different project to this one. So I would definitely be in favor of, at this stage of the game, positive comments on both issues to the ZBA.
You stole my thunder, Ed. That's where I'm coming from on this. I mean, the planning board has really had a large hand in shaping this application, and you know, I don't think that at this point we should be talking about reducing the size of the retail. I think that it is useful for the zoning board to know that we support these variances. My sense is that there's a majority of the board that supports these variances, and again, without in any way trying to step on the ZBA's toes or tell them what to do, just so that they have the guidance of knowing that you know, that we really, because the applicant has worked very, very hard to meet the issues that we've raised, and you know, this has not been an easy path, but we've gotten, I think, on this application to a very good place. And so I'm, you know, I mean, Ian's right. I think it was Ian said that there are issues in the front that need to be addressed. Unless it was Randy.
It was me. It was Kathy.
Well, let me put it this way. I will associate myself with the with anyone who says that there are issues regarding the street access that need to be addressed, and we will, and I'm confident that if and when the application comes back from the ZBA, that we'll hammer out those issues neatly, and we'll get this application through. That would be my expectation, but not saying that that's what's going to happen by any means. So, am I correct in saying that the board supports these two variances and or thinks positively about these two variances? Is there anyone on the board who doesn't? So we have it on the record. That doesn't support these two variances?
Sam, I support the variance for the housing. I think that the affordable housing, I think Pamela makes a good argument, and 25 feet there, it's a very industrial area to the east. So I support that one. I don't support the 11 parking space variance.
Okay. Kathy, just so that I'm clear where you are on this.
Yeah, I'm in favor of both of them.
Okay, very good. All right, so and Lou and Ian, you guys are all on
both.
And add them
for both. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we can report that out, and then you can go across the hall and talk to those guys over there and gals over there, and we'll look forward to seeing you down the road.
Absolutely that. Thank you very, very much, really, for all your great input.
Thank you for your positive participation.
And Sam, if I could just make one comment as the owner, I think Kathy started most of our sessions by saying thank you for the revisions every time. So I appreciate that, but I want to reiterate, and I've said it every time, we want to be a good neighbor, and we view this as a positive for the town. I think the affordable housing is a big benefit for the town. I mean, obviously everybody knows what's going on in the housing market out there. So thank you for how you've handled this, and we appreciate it. We look forward to the next step.
Okay, great. We're glad. And I just, I want to add that, again, I don't want to beat the drum too many times on this, but this is a I don't want to call it cooperative, but that's about as close as the word as I'm going to get without thinking too hard. Process and collaborative process, if you will. And there are too many times that people kind of avoid the process because they think it's going to not result in what they want or whatever, for whatever reason. So I think this stands as an example for others that this is that there's a reason that there's a planning process, and there's a reason that people want to be in East Hampton town, and those two things are kind of the same. So, all right, with that, we will go to the last application that we have on tonight.
Thank you, and good night. Thanks very much.
Appreciate it. Okay, the last application we have on is Scoville Hall Terrace and Generator Well. Will, they're on that for the planning department. I don't see, is that Mr. Whalen's application?
Yes, I believe so.
Is he on?
I don't see him.
No, Chair, I don't see him as well.
Anyone from his office? Maybe he's at home watching on TV, dialing in frantically right now.
Could be, if you want to give him a moment. Could be.
Well, we could go to the.
We have one item on for regular.
Yeah.
So why don't we jump into the regular meeting, do that, and when we come back, if the applicant isn't here, we'll take a
rain check.
Vote to adjourn, and if not, we'll go back. So the site plan review approval is Vicky Backhash, I'm sorry again to the applicant, residence unit number 73. Lou, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm not sure. I don't think I have that.
The resolution.
Hold on. Got it.
Okay, why don't you read in the resolution?
Okay.
Then we'll act on it.
In the matter of the application of the Uzbeki Akash Residence Unit 73 Site Plan, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-110-1-1-13. I have read the site plan approval and move for its adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed and carried, 6-0, one absence. Okay, well, since we do not have the applicant available on the Scoville Hall Terrace, Thomas, do you agree we should adjourn it?
Yeah, yeah,
We can't discuss it without the applicant.
yeah.
Want the advice of counsel, as I always do. So, all right, so, well, then in that case, we'll put it on another night. And with that, I again thank LTV for getting us on TV, and the planning board staff. Jody, thank you for your hard work. Nora, too, who's I don't see on the picture, and planning department, which I'm saying last because once again, Joanne, we can't thank you enough. It's been a lot of fun.
Joanne, can I call you at home if I have any questions?
Keep up the good work, all of you.
Thanks, Joanne.
You set a high bar.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thanks a million, Joanne.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you.
Okay,
It's been a pleasure working with you all.
very much. So, all right, well, it's mutual. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed and carried. See you next week, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, see you next.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Aye.
Bye.